King of glory, lead us up the mountain. Lead us up the mountain, high into your presence, where your glory shines. Lead us up the mountain. Lead us up the mountain, high into your presence, where your glory shines. Where your glory shines on With hearts abandoned, we will boldly approach your throne to stand with you in glory and worship you alone. We join the choir of angels, caught up in endless praise. Our God is strong and mighty, he shall reign. Oh, with hearts abandoned, we will boldly approach your throne to stand with you in glory and worship you alone. We join the choir of angels, caught up in endless praise. Our God is strong and mighty, he shall reign. Open up the heavens, open up the heavens, as we lift you higher. Let your glory shine. Open up the heavens, open up the heavens, as we lift you higher. Let your glory shine. With hearts abandoned, we will boldly approach your throne to stand with you in glory and worship you alone. We join the choir of angels, caught up in endless praise. 'Cause our God is strong and mighty, he shall reign, he shall reign.
Oh, hello. Good morning and welcome to Sunday at CVCC Online. We're just so glad that you were able to join us this morning. I managed to get a haircut this week, just before the lockdown and everything got shut down. And I knew I was doing the announcements this week, so I thought I better get it cut. I was just checking there for my baldy spot at the back. It seems to be getting more bald. Anyway, thanks again to the worship team there for leading us in that song of worship, that great song of worship. And just thanks, can I just say thanks to everybody that does help to produce our videos on a Sunday morning online. Behind the scenes, I'm thinking about the folks behind the scenes. They do a great job every week. And I can also say thank you to all the folks within the church. There's not only the Sunday morning videos that are happening, but there's other things happening throughout the week, and people are getting involved and keeping church going. through this period. So thanks to everyone for helping us and sticking with us through these difficult times. Okay, I've just got a few announcements to make, and then we can get on with our morning message, which is coming from Kevin this morning. Kevin will be doing the next couple of messages over the next couple of weeks, and again, can I just say a special thank you to both Kevin and Eric, the part of the teaching team of the church. We so much appreciate their input to the teaching that we receive at CVCC, so thank you. The subject matter for the next couple of weeks is stay positive. So tune in next week as well, and you'll get the follow-up from today's message. We were planning to have 4 Sunday nights of prayer meetings in the Maranatha Centre over the next 4 Sunday nights. Unfortunately, as you know, this week things have changed a little bit. We're now up to Tier 4, so we're going to cancel those, the online, the actual meetings for the prayer meetings. But watch that space, and we'll see what else we can do there. This Sunday we are actually going to meet on Sunday night. There's going to be a team. You might remember at the AGM we talked about the use of the Maranatha as an outreach venue. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with us, and we're going to have a meeting on a Zoom meeting on Sunday night just to talk about the use of the Maranatha and how we can use it. Obviously, we're restricted at the moment and what we can actually use it for, but we're thinking ahead and thinking into next year. So we're looking for ideas and how we can use it going forward. Okay, another thing that happened a week past on Saturday was the big quiz night for the Tier Fund, which Singer ran for us. Thanks again to Singer for doing that. And just to let everybody know, we raised £714, which is a great effort from the church, and thanks again, Singer, for organising that. There was a total of £193,000 raised within the UK from the churches within the UK, or the people support. Great charity. Was supported it for many years, and they do a great job. Also, another charity that we're involved in with the church through Anne Medill is the Glasgow Street Pastors, and they are looking for some help with providing some toiletries for the people that they have in shelter. So if you can help in that and supply some toiletries, that would be much appreciated. And there is a number that should come up that we can contact Anne, and we'll arrange to get those picked up. So thanks for that. And Christmas is fast approaching, and we've already started thinking a bit about the Christmas service and the things we're doing coming up to Christmas. And there's a little team has been formed also, which has met. And again, if you would like to be involved in that, just get in touch with us, and you can be part of that team. But they've already met and discussed a few ideas for things coming up to Christmas, so just watch this space for some of the things that we can do coming up to Christmas. One of the things we are doing as a church is we're going to do a song, and it's the song My Soul, My Soul, My Soul, Magnify the Lord. It's a favourite of ours here at CVCC, so we're going to do it as a choir, And you should have received the file, the music file and the words this week. If you're still interested in being part of that and you haven't received it, please get in contact with me and I'll get that sent out to you and you can join in with us there. What else is there? Yeah, the theme for the Christmas season this year is the light of the world. So that's what we're trying to do as a church, is to show the light of the world, which is Jesus Christ, trying to show him to the world. The other thing I mentioned a few weeks ago was just over this few weeks, and I guess some of you have already put up your Christmas trees, but if you haven't, if you can send us a little video of your tree and maybe post a little message to your friends here in the church, that would be great, and we'll add those in to our Sunday morning video services over December. So please, once you get your trees up, or videos, them putting them up and sending a little greeting, Christmas greeting, that would be great. I think that's all. I've probably forgot something, but hopefully that's us for today. I'm just going to hand over to Kevin now. No, sorry, there was one thing. It was the prayer meeting, our monthly prayer meeting, or worship, communion and prayer meeting is still planned for the 13th of December, and this is after the level 4 lockdown. So hopefully things will have changed by that time and it will be pulled back and we'll be able to meet. But we're planning for a worship, communion and prayer meeting on the 13th of December. But again, it will depend on how things go. So just watch this space for an update on that as well. There was something else and it's went out of my mind, I can't remember. Our CPR team, that's our Care, Prayer and Response team, is a team of people that pray faithfully every week for our needs. And if you have any needs, please send them in to us via the number or the website or through Facebook, and we will faithfully commit to pray for the needs, the many needs that there are for folks within the church and out with the church at this time. So please do that. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Kevin now for our morning message. Thank you, Kevin. Cheers.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you, even though I've got a pretty difficult job this morning, I think. It's my job to introduce a new series that we're doing over the next few weeks, which is called Stay Positive. And to do that on a weekend when we've just gone into Tier 4 restrictions is a bit of a challenge, I have to say. You see, there's so much negativity around just now, and I think I'm a bit fed up with it. Maybe you feel that way as well. It's all just a bit overwhelming. All the news that comes to us is really negative. It all seems to be bad news. And of course, there is a bad story to tell. People are getting sick. Tragically, people are dying. Jobs are vanishing. The economy is struggling along. And in many ways, our nation is divided. It seems like the pervasive message in the world today is, well, it's like the end of the world as we know it. And it's so easy to get sucked into that negativity and that frustration and that anxiety that overwhelms so many people. And what I've found, if I'm honest, is that emotionally this is affecting me. I find myself emotionally on edge. I get angry much more easily than I did before. Maybe it's just as well there's social distancing just now, the way I can flare up at anything. I wonder if you saw the story a few months back in the middle of the first lockdown, I think it was. It was a woman in Huddersfield was hiring out her caravan just so that you could go and beat the thing up and smash it up. You could either have a sledgehammer or a golf club, and you could really tear in to that caravan as a way of relieving your anger and your frustration. So I find myself more easily angered, but I also find myself more easily discouraged and feeling like, can we ever rebuild from this? Are we ever going to go back to something that's meaningful and feels halfway normal? So what I'm trying to do right now is to ask God to help me to see the good in the middle of all this stuff that's going on, to keep some kind of perspective of faith and a positive attitude. I'm asking God to help me to stay positive. So I think the advice right now is we've got to be wise, we've got to social distance, we've got to wash our hands, we've got to wear our mask out in public, but also let's do everything we can to stay positive, to have an attitude of faith, to look for good in the middle of all the bad, and believe that God is still on the throne, He does know what He's doing, He is still working, and that He will be with us and He will be in us, and we need to stay positive and fight for faith, because a negative outlook never ever leads to a positive life. Here's what the book of Proverbs says. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 15. For the despondent, every day brings trouble, but for the happy heart, life is a continual feast. So what I want to do today is to show you why I am optimistic about the future. The title of today's message is Enough of the Bad News. So let's talk about optimism. I think, the classic thing is, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person? Are you an optimist or a pessimist? Well, first, let's talk about what an optimist is not. Optimism is not a denial of reality. It's not kind of putting our heads in the sand and acting like everything's okay and nothing's wrong with the world. We'll just have a positive attitude no matter what. The reality is we have some very significant challenges in the world right now. Optimism is not a denial of that reality. But it's also not blind faith. It's not naive, wishful thinking that somehow everything's going to work out even if we do nothing about it. It's not a denial of reality. It's not blind faith. I tried to find a definition. I read this online. Optimism is simply confidence about the future or a successful outcome. It's confidence, believing something good is coming down the line. And if we add a bit of spiritual weight to that, then we maybe come up with a definition that we go like this. Optimism is the unwavering expectation that our loving God is working every situation for our future good. It's that assurance deep within us that our loving God is involved. He's working in every situation for our future good. In fact, it was Paul writing to the church in Rome said it like this. We know that in all things God works for good, for those who love Him, those whom He has called according to His purpose. All things. All things means that your impossible boss at work, or your financial setback that you're facing right now because of the pandemic, or your state of health, or the challenges you have in bringing up your children just now, or that painful relationship. In all these things, God is working for good to those who love Him, who've been called according to His purpose. In other words, even in a negative situation, it still holds the potential to produce a positive purpose. Because we, as faithful believers, can live with an unwavering expectation that our loving God is working in every situation for our future good. Now, my personal experience of this is that it gets a bit easier the longer you've been a Christian, and actually just the older you get. Because you look back on stuff, and it's when you look back that you see the will of God like a thread running through your life. You see God's care for you, even when you went through that difficult time, even in the darkness. And the older you get, the more you can see it. You've just got longer to look back on, more experiences to look back. And you look back at times when life was dark, when you were in the shadows, and you see God was there. He was there. But also see at the darkest of times, it wasn't so much that I was looking for God, but it's more that God found me. I'm on my knees saying, I can't do this, God. Or I'm scared. Or, God, what on earth is going on? And you look back and you see that God gave you enough to get through. And because God was with you back there, then you think, well, he will be with me here. And the dark things you suffered in the past, and you know that God helped you through them, means that you know that God will help you here and now. And all that accumulation of God's presence and his power and just enough strength to get through the situation back then makes you know that God will be with you here. The darkness might even increase. You think things can't get any worse. Things could get worse. But then you look back and you say, well, God, you did it there. So why would you suddenly stop doing it here? At my best, when I'm staying positive and optimistic, and this is a struggle. This is a struggle for us all. That's why we're doing this series called Stay Positive, because it's not a natural thing in the midst of the most difficult of circumstances. But when I'm staying positive and optimistic, I'm really saying, it's all right. I know I can do this because I've done it before. And God was in the dark before. When things were dark in my life before, God was there, and God was in all the details, and God was in all the circumstances, and he will do it again. Solid ground for optimism means living in what we know, not what we feel. When we're in troubled times, we don't often feel God. We don't feel him close. We don't feel his presence right there, right then. But it's in your knowing that you're going to find help. And in the midst of very difficult feelings, we can say, I know that my Redeemer lives. I know that God is here, even in the darkest of times. I know that God is in control. I know that he understands the circumstances. And I know that he has promised me that things will work out for good in the end. Rehearsing what you know and not listening to what you feel will encourage you and help you to stay positive. So what about the negative feelings? Well, let me suggest two things that might help with our negative feelings. And the first thing is to stop watching the news. I was speaking to someone recently. He's completely stopped watching the news. Just doesn't listen to news, doesn't watch it, doesn't read it online, just having nothing to do with it. Because he reckons the news broadcasts are feeding his negative emotions. Now, a complete news blackout might not be your thing, but limiting ourselves perhaps to just once a day reading the news, just reading a summary of the news once a day rather than listening constantly, maybe that would be better for our feelings, for our mental well-being. A friend of mine was affected by this last week. He told me all about it because he works in the service industry. He was furloughed earlier in the year in the first lockdown, and it wasn't good for him. He absolutely hated it. He was stuck in the house. He lives with two other guys in the house. They were both working from home, and he was furloughed and had nothing to do. And he was absolutely dreading the fact that we might be going into Tier 4. And this was just last week. And he said that, he would watch the news, and I guess he was really making a bit of a criticism of the Scottish government, but he was saying that it was like they were toying with him and playing with his emotions, this roller coaster of emotions. And when you look back on it, you can see perfectly well why. So a week past Thursday, we had the government saying, well, it's probable that Glasgow and the west of Scotland will go into Tier 4 restrictions. That was Thursday. On the Friday, the announcement was it's highly likely that it will go into Tier 4 restrictions. By Sunday, the Deputy First Minister was saying it's not inevitable. So my friend is like, over the weekend, he was absolutely frantic. Oh, no, we're going into this Tier 4. I would get furloughed. I might even, my job might even end at this point. So he was so despondent. And then on Sunday, it's, well, it's not inevitable. And then on Monday, First Minister said, well, it's likely, but not inevitable. And then by Tuesday, it was the west of Scotland's got to get braced for tier 4 restrictions, and here we are. And you can see that constantly listening to all that really drives you round the bend. And that was, my friend was saying, it was just such a roller coaster of emotions. We need less of that in our lives. So that's the first thing. Watch less news. Don't be absorbed by that all the time. And the second thing is to limit our time on social media. I think we're very pessimistic as a culture right now, and that's certainly reflected in my news feed on Facebook. It's telling me everybody's got poor mental health. We're all victims of this virus that we can't even see. And then a lot of stuff, we're destroying the planet by our actions, and we're portraying ourselves all the time as quite dismal and wretched as a people. One post from an environmental campaigner that appeared there said that we're like a cancer on the planet. Human beings are like a cancer on the planet. You maybe saw some posts like this one here on the screen during the first lockdown, and it was pictures of Venice, and it was saying, here's an unexpected side effect of the pandemic. The waters flowing through the canals of Venice are clear for the first time in forever. And the fish are visible, and the swans have returned. And someone's saying, well, look, the Earth's recovering. Air pollution is slowing down. Water pollution is clearing up. Coronavirus is Earth's vaccine. We are the virus. Now, this is not good for anyone, especially our young people. If we say that humanity is the virus, that we are a cancer on the planet, well, what do you do with cancer? You try to eradicate it. We could do a lot less of this stuff. We could do it with a lot less social media. I think that could really make such a difference in our quest to stay positive. Because this just feeds pessimism, not optimism. And what does the Bible say about this? Well, here's Philippians 4, verses 8 to 9. And again, it's Paul writing to the church in Philippi, and he says, summing it all up, friends, I'd say that you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious. The best, not the worst. The beautiful, not the ugly. Things to praise, not things to curse. Put into practice what you learned from me, what you heard and saw and realized. Do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work you into his most excellent harmonies. God will work you into his most excellent harmonies. You're not a virus. You're not a cancer on the planet. To be an optimist is to focus on all the amazing things that a human being can be and can do. And when you add God into that equation, you can multiply all that by 10. Because really, if the world could see the best in you, if you could show the world the best that you can be, and if I could do that, we could change things. We could make a big difference. We need to focus on the positive. Stay positive. Be optimistic. Jesus said it like this, talking about the way we should be handling ourselves in the world. Let me tell you why you are here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? Or here's another way to put it. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colours in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. And if I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. And now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. I love those verses, talking about the difference that we can make. If we can stay positive, if we can understand that God within me can transform my life and help me to make an impact even in the darkest of times. In fact, if you want to see what a light is like, if you want a light to shine, well, it's best to shine a light in darkness. So in the middle of our situation, the darkness of our situation, what an opportunity for us to be a light. So I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic because I think we can be salt and light in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of anxiety, in the middle of fear and financial loss and tier 4 restrictions. And we do that by watching what we fill our minds with, because the stuff we fill our minds with, that's what affects our emotions. That's what can drag us down so easily and send us into a downward spiral of negativity. Less news, less social media, more time rehearsing what we know about God and his character, and more time reflecting on the way that God has been with us throughout our lives and in all the times in the past and what he's done for us even in the darkness. That will keep us positive. So what I'd like to do just for a moment is ask you just to pause, and I want you to think about what you think about. I want you to think about how you process your thoughts about the future. How do you see the future in your thought life? Because the reality is, if your thoughts are consumed with negativity and fear and worry and anxiety, that's really bad news, because what consumes our mind tends to control our lives. Whatever you think about tends to direct your life. In other words, the life that you have is generally a reflection of the thoughts that you think. The Bible puts it like this in Proverbs, that as a person thinks in his heart, so he is. You become your thoughts. Your life is generally moving in the direction of your strongest thoughts. So if you think the world is always in trouble and you can't trust anyone and I hate my circumstances, well, you're probably not going to get to the end of the day and feel very good about yourself. If you wake up in the morning with a bad attitude, a bad perspective and a bad filter on life, and you see everything through a pessimistic lens, then, well, what you think about tends to direct your life. What consumes your thoughts controls your life. So what do you think about? This is one of the big problems with pessimism. Pessimists tend to view negative events as both personal and permanent. In other words, personal, they say, well, it's my fault. This is happening because I'm not a good person, or I've done this bad thing. Nothing ever goes my way. I'm incapable. I'm unworthy of anything good. And then they tend to think it's permanent. Oh, life's always going to be like this. It's always going to be a struggle. We're going to have to wear masks for it forever. And we're not going to defeat this pandemic. The world's never going to be safe again. But here's the truth. Being content, being satisfied, being blessed, being optimistic isn't a state of affairs. It's a state of the mind. Because what controls your mind controls your life. So I was wondering how to end this message. You know, I'm trying to say, we want to stay positive. Of course, who of us wouldn't want to be positive? And we need to do it. It's going to start with our minds. It's what we feed into our minds is the thing that's going to influence how positive we are. So I thought, well, how to end this message? And I can think of no better way than just to repeat the verses from Philippians that we read earlier. So let me read these again. Summing it all up, friends, I'd say that you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious. The best, not the worst. The beautiful, not the ugly. Things to praise and not things to curse. The world needs some positivity. The world needs some positive people who can get out there and be salt and especially be light, shining in the dark. So I invite you to be one of these people by doing what Paul encourages us to do in these verses and focusing your mind on those positive things. Let's pray together and ask God to help us to be positive in the midst of our situation. God our Father, we thank you. It's possible for us to be positive because we have such a positive God. And as we reflect on our lives and on the difficult times that we've all been through in different stages of our lives, and yet when we look back, we can see your hand in all. We can see the way that you were there for us in the darkness. You guided us. You led us. You were with us. You gave us your power, and you gave us just enough strength to get by. So in the midst of our current situation, Lord, we want to say that we know that our Redeemer lives. We want to say that we know that you are at work bringing about good in the darkest of circumstances. Will you help us to get in control of our thought life, to think on the things that are positive, to fill our minds and meditate on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, and gracious, knowing that what we think about and what we fill our minds with will shape our lives and help us to stay positive. Lord, we need you. We need you in the middle of tier 4 restrictions that none of us want, but we do want to stay positive. So we ask you to be with us and to strengthen our resolve to shine as lights in the darkness. For Jesus' sake. Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'll be back again next week with part 2 of our Stay Positive message. I'll see you then. Thanks.
Especially for this song. I mean, I think we all had this like really cohesive desire to really portray the love of God, which is this massive, grand like idea with so many facets, but to tell the story through the lens of the Father, you know, and to tell the story through the lens of like how good he is, how close he is, how much, like I love what you said, Matt, like how much he cares about every detail, you know. And I love even the imagery in the chorus of my heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. Like those two lines really portray just the fact that, okay, God is close. A surgeon is like in the most intimate details, you know, and he's also like the best at like helping heal those things. He's the best at helping to help just bring those things like to together the way that they're meant to be, you know. And then a friend, like thinking of God as a friend. I know that's a massive revelation for you when you get to that point when you realize like, well, wait, God is a friend. He's not just some like dictator, religious dictator far off that I can't really have a relationship with, or, you know, he's not just some rule, you know, like rule maker. No, God is a friend. Like he cares about my well-being, and he cares about like everything that I'm concerned about. And he wants to walk with me through every season, through every situation, you know. I just love that those images came out in this song, because I think it just portrays that connection in just a beautiful way. And it's powerful to watch in a room, to watch people have that revelation. It's like you can almost see it on their faces, just them having that like eye-opening, like, whoa, this is, you know, revelatory.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so thankful you guys wrote it. I'm thankful that Cody, you came in with the idea and just wanting to write about the Father's heart. It's a beautiful song. I know it's going to continue to bless the church, and it's just getting started. And so I really thank you guys for taking the time to sit down and talk to us about it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Love it. Great to be here.
Carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. Yeah, I see it now. I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, My soul needs a friend, so I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. To the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 oh. Feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out. Just as I am, you pull me in, and I know I need you now. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. And my heart found a surgeon, my soul found a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 and again and again. Oh, 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 and again and again. Oh, oh, oh. Your love breaks on me like an ocean, and I'm caught up in your rolling seas. In your love is a place like a wide open space. Call me out into all I can be.